You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Oh, hello.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
Welcome back to the second episode of Sketch Up with Mog and Mel. Glad to have you here tonight. Our special guest is Rob Multari. He is the publisher and owner of Lone Wolf Comics. He puts out Night Wolf and Snowpaw, which Mog is going to be working on a blank cover, and Mog is also the interior artist for the series. Now, there are other titles along that go with a Lone Wolf, but those are the main two that I believe that Rob focuses on at the moment. So let's go ahead and bring him on, and we're going to go ahead and dissect him right away.
Whoa.
Whoa! There he is. Hey,
hello,
big guy.
Mr. Handsome.
So you have a Kickstarter going on right now.
I do, yes.
Okay, and but it's not a comic book.
Well, no, it's mostly for a plushie inspired by my series Night Wolf, but it's also there's 6 connecting covers for a 5th anniversary of Night Wolf. So it's basically issues 1 through 6, brand new limited connecting covers that you can also get through the campaign. So it's kind of like a half plush, half comic campaign.
Okay, fantastic. Now, most people would look at that plushie and they think that would be a great for an add-on. Why did you make it a separate campaign?
Because all right, I'll even show you. So this little guy here, you can probably see see how like there's a lot of like the embroidery and the stitching.
Yeah.
The note is embroidered. There's a whole bunch of detail in this thing. So this guy, the people I went through, Skeleton Crew, the factory they work with, there's a minimum of so like the minimum that I could order was 300. And but the price point per unit plus that 300 minimum, I couldn't do it as an add-on. They had to be its own campaign for it to even exist.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. Okay. And I think that will be that's kind of a good piece of information to share with the people out there that do campaigns. And that was the main reason I brought it up. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, because one of the things that you've been that you do talk about is that growing up, you got into comics, and that was helped you to deal with your ADD. Is that correct?
No. Well, you're so
what?
Dyslexia.
Okay.
Well, dyslexia and ADD, yes.
Okay.
So I'm both, and yes. So when I was little, I struggled with learning how to read, and my mom kind of used comic books as a way to help me to learn to read, because like the word bubbles in context with the story helped. And I also, so like the first set of comics that I ever got was the Untold Tales of Batman, and
wow.
it came with cassette tapes. So I was able to listen to the dialogue as well as follow along with the books. And so, for me, that was great, because I loved, I always loved like the DC and Marvel comic cartoons that were out. And then kind of like as I started collecting comic books, I kind of put 2 and 2 together that like, DC and Marvel had their universes and these characters were all, interconnected somehow. So that's kind of like what really sparked my interest in like, once being able to, again, with the reading and figuring that out, but like really like my love of like the storytelling, the universes expanding upon, like these things that just, it's larger than just this one piece or this one issue,
Right.
So that to me was very like intriguing and compelling. And I always kind of like wanted to do something where I could like be a part of something big, you know what I mean? I wanted to contribute to something like that. So that kind of is like what got me into like writing. And then I was doing fan fiction for X-Men and Wolverine because they were my favorites growing up. And so that's kind of like where that all, progressed from.
When was it that you decided that you wanted to write?
I think the official time that I knew that I could actually do it I was I was seventh grade, and I was in a reading class, and we were reading Where the Red Fern Grows. Ironically enough, it wasn't even like a comic book, right? You know,
It was so sad.
I know, right? Yeah, yeah. It was,
Yeah.
but like I found out that like in that class that the book was like a biography. It was like a guy, the writer
Yes,
wrote
Yeah.
about
that
his
is true.
life,
Yeah.
and I was like, so I don't know like if it what like finally clicked in my head is like some guy can just write and tell a story and put it out there. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think that, you know, and for me, of course, again, comics have always been my thing. So I started putting like I made character designs and started writing these stories. And like I said, then I kind of started doing the fan fiction for X-Men. So that's when I started doing that.
Mhm.
And I sent in a big storyline that I had wrote because I love the idea of the connecting universe, and crossovers back then weren't so overblown or overdone. So then I wrote my own like kind of an X-Men crossover with like my own characters that I made a brand new X-Men team. I had sent it into like Marvel,
Mhm.
and you know at the time, you know, being 14 years old, I think is when I got the I got a very kind rejection letter, basically saying that you know our storylines are so far in advance, and that you know we can't use your stuff, but we encourage you to keep it up and you know keep working at it, and you know for a 14-year-old, you know, that was like lighting fire under my ass. Like, this is what I want to do, you know?
Yeah.
So that's, you know, I took those characters and others, like, and some elements of the story. Most of it got trashed because really I couldn't use the Marvel universe in my stuff as much
Yeah.
as I'd love to, right?
Of course.
So I kind of reworked a lot of things and started doing my own characters. And, you know, just Nightwolf was the first one that I wanted to focus on. And, you know, the stories grew up with me into like my adulthood. And finally it was like, all right, I need to put up or shut up. I need to start doing stuff.
Yeah. Let me just take a quick say hello to hey Murdoch and Dave and Stevie. We see you guys on here, so thanks for coming back onto the show. Yeah. And going back to Red Fern, you know, I'm going to say that that was a book that I read early on. I believe I was about like 13 as well. Right. And I still remember that
Yeah.
book to
Yeah.
this day. I didn't know it was like based on a true story myself
Huh?
until I got to the ending of it, and then they did make a movie of it as well.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
there's that one scene or chapter where he's out there hunting the dogs, you know, and one of his dogs gets beaten up by the coon,
Mhm.
and you know you're worried about the dog, and at the same time he's trying to save his dog, and he's trying to find his other dog and find out where he's at, and hoping that these big coons don't get at him. Yeah, or
It
and
was
yeah,
a bear.
and well, the coons and yeah, the bear,
It was a grizzly
right?
bear.
Because a
Yeah,
lot of people
they
don't
were
realize
hunting. They were hunting the coons. Yeah.
they were hunting the
They're
coons.
hunting
Yeah,
coon. They're coon dogs, but
Yeah,
they
they are.
got attacked by the bear.
And the coons, you know, people don't realize that how big those coons get.
Mhm.
They can get pretty as larger than a dog. Some of them can, you know, and but it was like a thrilling adventure to read. So anyway, going back to you, what characters influenced you that you took and brought into your own characters, into your universe?
So I've always been a big fan of Wolverine. He was always my favorite. So I liked having like, you know, where he like had that berserker rage kind of thing, but still was like, you know, still like wasn't just like a beast, you know, like most how like they represent werewolves and stuff. But like, you
Mhm.
know, he had like I know he, you know, Wolverine's not a werewolf, but like in my mind, I was like, why can't a werewolf be kind of like Wolverine in a
Yeah.
sense that like they still have the berserker rage, but yet they still have like mental faculties that they could think and feel and you know have emotion and all that. And so that kind of always was like one thing that I didn't see in werewolves, which I like werewolves was my favorite supernatural creature. And you know that's kind of like what I wanted to kind of create a hero or anti-hero based on like a
Mhm.
werewolf because usually they were mostly like you know used as fodder for like you know they were either like the sidekick of a villain like a vampire or you know stuff like that or just like the
Yeah.
mindless beast that they're hunting or they got
Yep.
cursed you know and then also so like that kind of like was where I wanted Nightwolf to kind of be you know I wanted him to be a little bit of an anti-hero but still like try to do the right thing in the same sense that like but he was also able to change at will and control his his emotions and but still have like that temper kind of a situation.
Okay.
And with Snowpaw, she was inspired by Wolfsbane in in the Marvel universe. So she was a New Mutant, and then X Factor, and then Excalibur. I thought that she didn't have enough. Like, I wanted to see her like on a bigger level. Like they always made her a meek, mild character, and even when like there was times where she would have her moments, like it wasn't enough that like she had her own thing. She was always a side character, in the teams, and just kind of there for the story sometimes, and then they take her away when she wasn't necessary. So I think that's kind of something that like when I did my fan fiction, I made her a little bit bigger of a character that I didn't get to see. So I think that's kind of like where the idea of Snowpaw kind of came from, is that I would wanted to see a very strong female character. And of course the Scottish accent for me is, I just love listening to it and reading it. But yeah, that's
okay. Yeah. So, and then now Dave is asking us, he wants to get filled in on the Snowplow universe, and he was actually jumping the gun on me here, because now we go. Okay. So now, Rob, go ahead and fill us in about the universe that Snowplow and how is that related to your other series, Nightwolf?
Right on. Yeah. So basically, Snowpaw. Her series takes place in the 19th century Scotland, and it's about a female werewolf. When she turns 18, she discovers that she was born a werewolf, and basically she's betrothed to a rich man's son. In the first issue, you see that to save her family farm, her father kind of made the deal with Lord Chisholm, who is the rich man, and to basically save their farm. And Snowpaw, whose real name is Saray McKinley, and Cirilla is her real name, but Saray is her kind of a nickname. So she is basically, forced upon this marriage, and she's very strong-willed, so she's very unhappy about it going into it. But after the engagement party, she actually finds, oh, well, maybe there is something to this life. But that all kind of goes to the wayside when she's discovered by a group of werewolves who senses that she's, kind of not the same breed, but of like their kind. And just from there, things start to go awry. And then, the world of fantasy opens up to her. And then she gets to see for the first time, like different creatures that are out there, like fairies, goblins, all kinds of different, satyrs, all kinds of creatures that, she never knew existed, but only heard in tales.
Yeah. Okay. And I did like Rain as well in the Unions, and I read that whole series all the way to issue 100. And they just didn't bring Rain into her own.
Yeah.
She was kind of like to me, she was like the damsel in distress all the time.
No matter what they did, she was always And then they even brought in like a love interest, like from that Asgardian Wars.
Yeah.
And then like he comes in to save her like a few times, and it's like, well, no,
damsel in distress again.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well,
yeah. There's times where she does good, and she does kind of like stand out, but it doesn't really bring her close to the forefront where she can kind of like stand on her own. Yeah. So hopefully they'll do something with that.
Yeah.
In a way, she was kind of, to me, she was kind of like almost kind of like the Nightcrawler of the team as far as like character goes. She's constantly questioning her morals and so forth, like that, but not quite as sure as Nightcrawler is. But a good character, so hopefully they'll do something with it. So how is Nightwolf? Where does that take place? Is it in the same timeline, or?
Yeah, so Nightwolf actually takes place in the modern times. So it's an urban fantasy horror series. It's more on the horror side than Snowpaw. Snowpaw is more fantasy based, but Snowpaw is Nightwolf's mentor. So in the modern times, Rodney Marcelli, who is Nightwolf, again, it's at their 18th birthday is when their first transformation triggers, and so his werewolf lineage is revealed, and he's thrown into a super war against demons, witches, vampires, other werewolves, and he is unaware because it kind of skips generations. It's kind of like a recessive gene. So he's this, popular high school kid with a scholarship, full ride for football, and it shows kind of like that in the first, issue that his life, and then once this master vampire becomes aware of him, he tries to basically there's a way to tell whether their werewolves are a good or a bad werewolf, but there's something different about him. It's not just a simple black and white. He's kind of like in the middle, like he walks, like modern age, the gray line between good and evil, like it kind of has been blurred, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's kind of like where they're kind of like basically testing him. And also the master vampire thinks that his girlfriend is a reincarnation of the master vampire's dead fiance. And so there becomes this odd triangle, love triangle that then becomes a quadrangle later on.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so with Nightwolf, like I said, Snowpaw is his mentor during this series, and that's her in the modern day, which is 200 years of life experience. So between the events of Snowpaw and Nightwolf, there's 200 years for me to play with, and for Mog to draw.
Yeah, and that's kind of like interesting because there's a lot of things. That's a lot of material, time, eras to play with, and that can be real challenging for the artists. How do you feel about that, Mog?
Huh? What was the question? I'm sorry.
Right, that you have 200 years that you can play with at a lot of different time eras.
It's the best. It's the best.
Mm-hmm.
Because modern building, as efficient and great as it is, it's not aesthetically pleasing, so to speak. And also because as a story writer, I think it's fantastic that you can be in charge of like in the historic era, because there's more limitations. Whereas now everything can be solved with a cell phone,
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's more challenging. And also, like, gosh, I was watching a detective series that was done in the 70s, and like with modern technology, it's so easy. Like you can just easily figure out how to get from point A to Z, but because they didn't have modern technology like now, it was really difficult, and it created more obstacles for the characters. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that you can really play well with. But going back to the previous thing about how you were explaining about the unique part about the Nightwolf is that he's kind of in the in-between, like the gray.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, once a werewolf establishes him or herself as a good, can they like turn gray or black? Or
No,
vice
for
versa?
the most part, so the way that so in the Nightwolf series, there's issue 4. Snowpaw is telling Rodney, who is Nightwolf, about kind of like where their breed stems from, and it's kind of like their reincarnations, if you will, of basically there's an evil, black-hearted werewolf back before during the Roman Empire times, who made a kind of a pact with the devil, if you will. So, and then there was also a white, pure-hearted werewolf who then was enlisted by Seraphim Enforcer, which is basically a guardian angel, kind of like to counteract this. So these two, they met up in battle, and then their souls became locked in battle through all time, and they're so these characters basically kind of like, it's kind of like a reincarnation, if you will, through their recessive genes. So it's kind of like their pure-heartedness, it makes them bloods, whereas like if they're a black malevolent creature, then they become one of the mongrels, which is what a Black Claw is, and Grimfang,
Yeah.
and Snowplow. Whereas,
Okay,
like,
so
go ahead.
Stevie B writes, 200 years is even better when the lead character is an immortal. Werewolves aren't though.
That's right. So the way I have it, they have longevity. It's like reverse dog years. So
Yeah.
like, you know, for like every year in humans, it's like, or every 7 years for a human, that's like 1 year to them. So there's a lot more, you know, so they do have longevity, but no, they do not live forever.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so the max is
How long?
700, I think.
How in your werewolves? How long can they live?
So I would say
Or
probably.
have you even determined that?
Well, I haven't quite determined it, but I did want to set a limit to it. Like I said, because it's kind of like reverse dog years. That's why I kind of like set it 18 for them to change. You know, that's the first time that they could change, because it's kind of like their early like pup adolescence, if you will. So that's kind of like where I wanted to make sure that you know, they didn't live forever. I wanted to be able to have a transition, and you know, that's like, you know, whereas like they're easier to kill than just a silver bullet. Like if you damage the heart, you damage the brain, then they can die. It doesn't matter what you're using. If it's damaged beyond repair, then they can't heal with their advanced healing.
Huh.
And who's to say? I mean, this is comics. You know, anything can happen in comics to extend life and
bring back to life. Yeah.
Characters back to life. You know,
Yeah.
hey, you know,
Yeah.
that's all part of the fun of it.
Mm.
How did you? Writing to me is harder to learn than the art. How did you prepare? You know, your writing skills. Did you go to take college classes, or what did you do to prepare for this adventure?
So I think for most part, I love telling stories. And you know, like I played a lot of video games growing up too, which the ones I preferred were like RPGs that had a story that you would unfold as you went, right? I did do some first person shooters with my friends, but that wasn't like what I was doing. You know, when I was by myself, like I was playing the RPGs, like, you know, Legend of Zelda or Final Fantasy, because I love to unlock the stories. And so the story is really always like what I want to know what the story is, even if it's like something like I want to know the story behind it. And so that for me was like, I've always kind of been interested in stories. And then going through school, I was like, history was one of my favorite like subjects. You know, being able to learn like what has come before, because like, you know, history is a story. It's just a very long, you know, story, and there's many stories within the, you know, history. So I think, you know, and then going through, you know, college, I did take like some writing classes, but that wasn't like really my main focus. A lot of it, you know, and then again, learning how to write in comic script. I got a lot of those Marvel how-to books, or how to write comic, you know, like that had been out, you know, throughout the years put out. So, and there was, I don't think it was a Marvel one specifically, but there was a how-to book, and it had like a script format in there. And that's the format that I took, but put my own spin on it as I was writing, and how, you know, I present the panels and kind of like my own terminology, which, you know, we've had that conversation whenever we first started working together. What I mean by, you know, certain things. But I try to be very like, I have quite the vivid imagination, so I try to be very specific about what I'm thinking in my head, so that it translates for you, and for like the other artists that I work with as well, to be able to do that.
Yeah. It's interesting to look at other writers and how they write. You know, if you look at like Alan Moore, he's got his own very style, and he's very strict in what he wants to see. And you can kind of compare that to like the way how even what's his name, Stephen King. He's got his own book, and I think that book that you're referring to, I think that was by DC Comics.
Michael Straczynski.
Well, that's a different one. And
Okay.
the book by Michael Straczynski is real thick and technical.
Yeah, I read that book.
And that's a book that you're going to have to read like several times to be able just to grasp the concepts and put everything together. But anyway, the book I think you're referring to on how to write, that might have been DC, that was put out by DC Comics by Dick Giorgiano. I don't know if that might be the one.
Maybe I'll have to look. I think I still have it on my bookshelf back there.
Okay. Okay, so anyway, Mog is working on a blank snow cover, and she is drawing up a charade that is available to bid on if anybody wants to do that. And you can see that right there on the screen. And on that note, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Rob Multari.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rockin' Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, well, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula, you want the comics, you buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales.
You know how when you go to Comic-Con, after Comic-Con, you go to the hotel bar, and there's a whole bunch of people playing music and dancing, and you've got Pikachu and Lara Croft Tomb Raider doing the cha-cha slide just down from Deadpool and Batman and Wonder Woman? That's every Saturday night over on the Experience Twitch channel. Join Taji Beats for the EXP Dance Party, exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Go follow the Experience on TikTok at @the_EXP1 or scan the QR code on the screen. Our TikTok is like everywhere else we are, except you only have to deal with us for a minute. Seems like a win-win to me.
Do you understand? All right.
Okay.
Hello.
Welcome back to Sketch Up with Mog and Mel. We have Rob Multari as our special guest, and we're diving into the Snowpaw universe. And once again, Mog is working on a blank cover. She's drawing up the main character, Saray. So that is up for bids. Starting bid is $100 on that. And you'll get a good look at that in probably about another hour and see how that's coming along. But feel free to start bidding now. And let's go to the comments here. We have, it's kind of like moving up a little bit hard to read. A lot of people seem to like your plushie, and they want to know.
Yeah.
Do you have plans for other plushies to come down the line?
Yeah, so I guess it depends on how well this one does. So I do think like I would do a normal version of Nightwolf, not just like so. The Voodoo was inspired by a pinup done by Megan Alford, and that's in the Nightwolf Volume 1 trade paperback.
Right.
And so that's kind of like where this came from, and that's why he's in the Voodoo form. But Megan and I are actually thinking about doing a kids board book with this as well. And then we're thinking if that does well, then maybe a regular Nightwolf and then a regular Snowpaw. It's warranted. Maybe if there's some stretch goals, maybe unlock. Who knows?
Hmm. Yeah, I think you definitely got to do a snowplow one.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of biased on that, but yeah, I think that would be it. Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
imagine why.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, Mog is the regular artist on Snowpaw. If you haven't picked that up, they're up to issue number 2, and I believe, Rob, you have some specials going on for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to tell
So,
them about?
yeah. So basically, if anyone wants to get issues 1 and 2, we're basically doing tonight. Mention that you saw the show. Any copy is going to get free signatures from me. The there's $5 standards, and then there's what we're doing is 15% off of any of the variant covers that go up from 10, 15, 20, 25, and $30 are the different sketch or the different variant covers with their limited print runs. So if anyone's interested, I can, we can go. I guess I could share the screen and kind of present what those
Yes.
covers look like.
Please screen share.
Let me pull it up.
And while you're doing that, just to let everybody know, Mog will also be appearing tomorrow afternoon on Nick Barucci's show, the original artwork, or original art show. That's at 4:00 p.m. PST, and she has about like 4 blanks that she'll be putting out on that show that you can bid on, and that's dealing with the Dynamite characters, mainly the females, which is what she draws a lot of. So we have Sheena, Red Sonja, Deja Thoris, and Vampirilla and Purgatory, I believe, are the ones that she'll be working on. And you're going to want to take a look at those if you're into art. And then be sure to catch her here again on Sundays at 6 p.m. PST for the regular show on Artist Alley Shopping Network. And the theme for that show is Booty Call. Again, the more fantastic artwork that you'll be able to pick up then. And here's Rob.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So there, this is the gorgeous issue 2 cover done by Mog. So, like I said, any of the standard retail covers, they'll still be $5, but get free signatures if you've mentioned tonight. And then if you are interested in getting any of so this is issues 1. So Mog's cover here, and then we have the variant covers throughout, and then we have the rest of the variant covers for issue 2. So if you are interested in any of these, I guess you can message me through Facebook, and I will get you copies for 15% off of the variant covers. And as like I said, if you mention that it's tonight, I'll sign any of them as well. And then who knows, maybe if you're not too far from Mog, she might sign them too.
You can always get a blank cover as well and send that in and get a commissioner on that. And she also does remarks, so that can be all taken care of for you there. Okay. So give us a little bit more of a fill, Rob, on the story of Snowpaw. You just got done with issue 2. What, briefly, not to tell too much, but what happened there? And then where are you going to go from there?
So, so after issue 2 obviously takes off after issue 1, but without giving too much away, for those of you who don't really know the story much, basically once Snowpaw Saray, Snowpaw, whatever you want to call her, has had her first transformation. She is fighting against that pack of werewolves that I had mentioned earlier. And she basically, in her fit of rage after her first transformation, managed to basically dispatch a lot of the werewolf drones. But the head werewolf is a little bit more formidable because he is what I call a lord of a dark covenant. who wields more power than what a natural werewolf or other like supernatural holds. So he scoops her up by the throat and is toying with her until she is saved by Silvermane, who is a pureblood Monokai werewolf, the same as what Snowpaw is. And he's a Viking werewolf, and he's accompanied by a were-lion, his battle companion from Africa. And so they come in and they save Snowpaw, and there's another battle that kind of takes place there between them and so Grimfang, who is the lord over the Dark Covenant, calls upon a Knuckleave, which is basically a giant. It's kind of like a giant centaur kind of creature, but skinned, if you will, that's spewing like nauseous gas. So that's a big part of the second issue. After that happens, and they dispatch the creature, they kind of fill in Surrey about what she is and why this happened, and they decide to travel to London, and they show her an entire world of fantasy hidden within London. And basically from there, they kind of, go, they're training her. And she meets up with this dwarf. It's a steampunk dwarf and a bartender elf that they kind of go to for the help in training. So a lot of like, the next issue will probably be a lot of her training and getting her battle outfit, as well as in issue 2, there was kind of like an interlude where there's a new villain introduced that's kind of spreading his evil throughout.
Yeah. It's like if anybody likes Last of Us, it's like that. But hint. But it's like amazing how the timing of it, when we released it, and
yeah, like I had never like played The Last of Us, and so I really didn't even know like that there was like this kind of zombie fungal virus. Luckily, ours is different enough because it's not so much. Ours is more of a hive mind. It's not so much a zombie situation.
Yes.
So that I think that'll help. But it is kind of like in a similar sense that like if you enjoy like zombie and other stuff, there kind of becomes a little bit of an outbreak situation, creating these hive mind fungal demons.
It's a mycelium thing.
The other thing too is that not only do you have these supernatural creatures, right, but you have these other creatures in there as well. Is that something that you can talk about a little bit?
You mean like the fantasy creatures like elves and fairies?
Right.
Yeah. So in each issue of Snowpaw, I like to do like a hidden creature kind of index thing, kind of like a hidden creature hunt. Issue 2 kind of it's a little bit more apparent. There's a lot more obvious ones there, especially when they enter into Avalok. But yeah, so I wanted to show that my world, my universe, has supernatural creatures, has fantasy creatures. I mean, even in like Nightwolf, there was like a 4-page addition to the trade paperback that showed there's aliens. And there's also a scene in Nightwolf too that you can see these fantasy creatures and aliens and supernatural creatures all in like test tubes in like Area 51. So like there's a lot. Like my world is so big, and I'm like trying to show as much as I can within reason. But as my series goes on, it opens up a lot more. But right now, I'm just sprinkling the hints.
Yeah. Talk about the hints too. On the cover of issue 1, the one that Mog did, did you find all those hidden creatures?
I want to say that I found most of them. There was one that like I found much later on, like when I was looking at it, and I was like, oh wait, that's what that like I think there was like a fairy that I didn't realize was a fairy.
Yes, totally.
Right. So
I was like, oh crap.
A challenge for everyone that does pick up the number 1, or if they already have it, is to see how many of those creatures can they find and identify. And if you do, go ahead and post it. Post it on Mog's page, and let's see what everybody comes up with. Because we're not sure if everybody's found them all yet. We haven't found anybody yet that has found them all. So that'll be kind of like interesting to see. But then going back to the story that you're telling, the pacing that you took in the first issue, you could see the ups and downs of it, where how you tried to play with the timing and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second issue, man, you just kind of went
I know.
at it. It just totally went into like almost like high action adventure.
Yeah,
Was that intentional? Did you?
Oh, of course, you have to have a werewolf book with like action and stuff in it. So but I also wanted to. I like to set up the pace, whereas like you see their life before basically shit hits the fan. So I did kind of have to. I had to tell. The kind of similar of a pacing of a movie in an episode, so if you think about it as like a movie or a TV series, like during that season, you kind of have that, you have to set up the story, and that's what kind of like issue 1 is setting up, and then leaving that cliffhanger for issue 2.
Right. The calm before the storm.
Yeah, so that cliffhanger then has to be resolved at the beginning of issue 2, and we just went right into it. I mean, it was like it didn't even miss a beat. It was just like, boom, we're in this. It kind of came down a little bit, afterwards, and so it is going to take that kind of like a up, down, slow pace, as things happen, because you still have to save time. You have to have the action, you have to have that interesting, fun thing, but you also have to have story development inside the issue. So it's kind of like a bit of a heartbeat, if you will, like it's, you got to start it up, go down, start it up, go down,
Mm-hmm.
you got to work that wave.
Now, in the beginning, before we, when we were still working on getting issue 1 out, you had told us that the reason why you wanted to do this, or one of the reasons you wanted to do this, was for your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so that's the whole reason why I asked you that question, is because the pacing and then what happens in there is different from what I would think. How old is your daughter?
Yeah, so she's 5. Yeah, she's not even like the first issue. She still wouldn't. So it's not so much that like I want her reading it now. It's more like as she can start to read, she can read and get into comics.
Mm-hmm.
Like that kind of early age of getting into comics. I wanted to try and like introduce something like a strong female role model for girls getting into comics. So that's more so like where, but it's still, again, it's a werewolf comic, and, you can't really, it's got to be interesting enough and still related, but, but it's not like gratuitous, like, with like Nightwolf, there's a lot of like beheadings and a lot of stuff like that. So this is very mild, I feel, on like the blood scale, if you will.
Do you think she will get into comics?
Who knows? I mean, so right now she's been playing with superhero girls,
DC superheroes.
Yeah. Like what they're, DC released that. It was like a girl cartoon.
Yeah, it was an all girl.
Yeah. And we, Wonder Woman, Bumblebee, Supergirl, Batgirl, like all those characters, and right. We had bought, like when Toys R Us was going out of business in the United States, we went and bought a bunch of stuff on clearance. And so we had them like safely tucked away, and then we were like, as she was getting older, playing like some of those episodes like on YouTube or whatever, so like kind of get her used to it. And this year we basically, that was her Christmas, was like a bunch of superhero girls, like the Barbie doll size and the action figure size. Oh, nice.
Oh, thank you, John. We do now have an opening bid of $100 on that. Thank you very much.
Yes, John.
You just made Mog very happy. She's earned her $1 for the hour.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I really do miss Toys R Us.
I do too. I mean, you know, it was like if even just to go look at stuff was was fun for me. And then when my boys were old enough, like I would take them and we'd that was when like Nickelodeon released the Ninja Turtles when they were little, like that series. So like I got to go and like get turtles with them. Like I was like reliving my childhood.
Yeah, that's why we love Toys R Us. It's not for the kids. It's for us.
But what was going to Toys R Us in like in the 80s and the 90s, right? Especially in the 90s, when Toys was at the top of the hype and everything. Just going down there and chasing all that good stuff, trying to get what everybody's trying to hunt for, and then hoping it was almost like a treasure hunt. Every week, you figure out the timing. Okay, when do they get you actually figure out like when do they get the shipments in?
Yep.
And when are they going to put them out? It varied from store to store. Why do I know all that? I don't know. That's another story. There's some good stories.
But some I think more than boys, girls don't really like toys as much.
I'd have to differ on that.
I mean, my daughter, like she's always playing with her, so I think it's the different types of toys.
Yeah, it's the different types of toys that they like. But I see the girls of today.
Never mind.
The younger ones are getting more into the toys. I see them buying the male action figures and so forth. Yeah. So, but so again, thank you, John, for that bid. We are accepting bids in $5 increments.
No, remember we said last time.
Well, that was last week because of Tony.
Oh, okay.
He wanted to put it at 25, but we're good with $5 increments.
Okay, so for you to get all that supernatural law, like, did you have to read a bunch of the books about like the laws, lore, or did you just have to like study a mass media, like nonstop, watch things and write notes? I mean,
you mean for like just supernatural creatures in general?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the stuff is basically just digested from like over time watching and playing games and watching TV movies. Anything, and there was like, I took a Greek mythology class in college because I've always been a big mythology fan. Like it wasn't just, so it was a mostly Greek, but then we had to do like a study in comparison to other mythology was like one of our like reports that we had to do. So, we did I did a deep dive between comparing, like Norse, Greek, Roman, and then like other world, stuff like that. And, seeing the similarities was kind of like amazing to me, how similar a lot of these gods were. And, for me, that also kind of inspired, I do have my own set of pagan gods, if you will. But the way I have them is like they're basically they're like mythic celestials that present themselves to people as gods throughout, but they're really not. They're just other beings like that. Like I said, are just presenting them that way. And that kind of is what stems so that Decayan, the fungal creature that we introduced in issue 2, his mother is one of those mythic celestials. She's presents herself as the goddess of like the earth.
No wonder, because the end, the dialogue quote.
Yes.
Said, how it was like referring to a female, and it's like, what are you talking about?
Yes, he's basically because his mother trapped him in that prison in Brazil, and his father was so it would be, I guess, the god of war. That's why there's such like he's just this creature that spawned from that, and so he just is he is kind of just the chaos to destroy everything, kind of like evil. That's like the type of he has no real like, I don't want to rule anything, I want to burn it all kind of situation. So that's basically.
so interesting.
Yeah, so that's kind of like how a lot of that came to play, and
okay.
And then like learn any kind of creature, like so like for the creature index, I was learning where these creatures were. I wanted where we were in the story. Like where we were in Scotland, I wanted Scottish creatures, so I did kind of do some digging into Scottish creatures, and that's how I came up with the ones that were present there, as well as the ones in like transition to London, more of the English versions.
Okay. And on that note, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with Rob Multari, and you can still continue to bid on the snowplow blank cover that Mog has. We'll be right back.
Why was Princess Zelda sad after watching a bunch of YouTube videos? She couldn't find the link in the description. We'll stop if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's super easy. Click subscribe and click the bell when you do. And thanks for supporting the EXP.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
What if Hans Gruber from Die Hard had to battle the Joker from Batman the Animated Series in a dance battle? Or who would win in a race between Baby from Baby Driver and Snidely Whiplash? If Austin Powers and Shrek found themselves in a hot dog eating contest, who would emerge victorious? These are the questions we talk about on Nerd Killer Warfare. Debate the most absurd questions you've ever heard in popular culture. Register now by scanning the QR code or visiting bit.ly/EXP casting.
Hey, it's Dennis Camp. I'm the author of Bloodshot Unleashed and 20th Century Men. Issue 3 of 20th Century Men comes out this month. Issue 2 of Bloodshot Unleashed comes out at the end of the month. And I hope you'll support us and you're watching us on The Experience.
Welcome back to Sketch Up on The Experience with Mog and Mel, and we have our guest Rob Multari. Once again, you see Mog drawing a blank cover of Saray on a snowplow blank cover. We have a high bid of right now of $100. We are taking bids of in $5 increments if you'd like to do that. Somebody asked a question earlier if this was going to be in black and white. Yes, this is the final piece will be in black and white. And let's see, before the break, we were talking about mythology.
Yes.
Right. And Rob, you were talking about Greek mythology. Is that correct? Oh, I can't hear him.
I think you're muted.
You're right. I was muted. Okay. Oh no. Okay. Yeah. No. So I was talking about Greek mythology. I was talking about. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. But yeah, so with for Greek mythology and the comparison that I was doing, like I said, it brought me to like kind of like where even like there, the similar like the gods that are in like D&D. There's a lot of similarities between them. So a lot of things haven't been inspired from that, which is kind of cool.
Right. Yeah. Along with the Norse gods as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah, Norse is definitely one of my favorite things to dive into. Like that's why I wanted to have a Viking werewolf that I could then kind of play into that and go, deeper, um, with that whole.
Yeah. With that mythology.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's a great one there. Now, are there in this in your universe? You have other books besides Snowpaw and Nightwolf. Is that correct?
I have titles that I'm working on. They're not released yet, but yes, and there
Okay.
are. So in on my website, kind of shows a big picture of them as a group, but I do have three other titles that are kind of like waiting for me to kind of get into. But as you know, like between having the both series, it takes time to like kind of get to them to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. So the more I can kind of get the ball rolling on them, the faster then I can get to something else. But I do have a kind of a world-ending event in the modern times, after the events of the first story arc of that would be so that's Nightwolf with Crimson Dawn, Redemption, and Arcane. Um, Basically, Crimson Dawn is this. He's kind of like a super soldier, and and Redemption is a seraphim angel, like basically again a guardian angel. Um, that was so he was a human that was brought back as this seraphim angel to basically right wrongs and all that. And then we have the guy in the hood, that's Arcane. He's what I call he's an immortal, that has like kinetic energy powers that so like he can form like blades and weapons out of his kinetic energy
Mhm.
as he's in motion.
Okay. So, but none of those books are out yet. Is that correct?
Yeah, not yet. But they do make a guest appearance in Nightwolf issue 2 to kind of establish that they are in a shared universe.
Okay. Now, the journey for this for your universe didn't really start off all that well. From what I understand, the first two Kickstarters you had didn't get funded at all.
The first Kickstarter, yeah.
First
Yeah,
Kickstarter,
the
right?
first Kickstarter. So, and it was a lot of my naivety because I set the goal for $20,000. This was back in 2016. I set it up for issues 1 through 3 of Nightwolf, and I managed to raise over $5,000. But since Kickstarter is an all or nothing platform, I walked away with nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if I would have set it for issue 1
Mhm.
at 5,000, I would have been a lot farther ahead than I am now. So I kind of took a break after that, and I decided to then go back into. I was like, all right, let's see what I can do. I need to start saving money, doing whatever I can to finish paying for the art and paying for the printing. So that's what I did. I'm a web and graphic designer for my full-time job, and so I did a lot of freelance web and graphic design jobs to save the money.
Mhm.
Went back, finished the book with my artists, and I printed it. And I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, I have issue 1. What do I do now? So I applied for a Comic-Con that's the closest one to me, and one that I go to regularly is the Steel City Con. I got a table there, and they do it 3 times a year, and the one that I got into was the December one. And I went there. I took 100 issues with me. I filled my table with 8x10s and 11x17 prints and stuff, from the character designs and logo covers, and I sold 96 copies in Artist Alley that at that small con, and I was like, okay, it looks like I have something. Let's keep
Mhm.
doing this.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I've seen you the way how you market your books in the at the cons. We did the Fan Expo Chicago this past July.
Mhm.
That was a different con from what it used to be because it used to be run by Wizards,
Yeah.
Wizard. So So that was kind of like interesting to see. And I know that Henri does like really well there as well. And that guy's just like a demon when it comes to selling his books. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so your first Kickstarter didn't go well, and I know that's got to be kind of like a blow. That would be a blow to anybody that's trying to get their book out there. What did you do, or what did you think you needed to do to turn that around? And the reason why I asked that is because, and I have to say that when you do your campaigns and you put them together, I can see that they're well put together. You have a lot of offerings in there, and compared to like other campaigns that I look at that barely almost have not much to offer at all for the same kind of book and material, right? And you aggressively put that together along with your podcast appearances and your postings and all that. So what did you do to acquire the knowledge in order to have a successful campaign?
So I took what I learned from my first campaign, and when I decided to come back to the campaign, I was issue 3 when I decided to come back to Kickstarter, because issue 2 and issue 1 I had basically paid from out of my freelance work and savings and stuff, and I knew I couldn't do that again because it would take too long. So I was trying to figure out ways to make money to pay for the issue 3, and that was basically like a challenge at that point. It was like, okay, well, I can only go to so many cons a year. I have a full-time job. I have a family. I can't be on the con circuit everywhere, right? So what I typically do is like one a month during the summer, whenever I can, using vacation time. So that wasn't enough to be able to get a new, campaign for a new, enough money to pay for a new book. So I was looking online ways to find out how to do stuff. When I came across a comics launch podcast, had like a free training on like doing Facebook ads, and I was like, oh, Facebook ads, that might be a good way to sell my stuff online through my website, right? To be able to help, get more money for the next issue. So while doing that course, I found that there's, Tyler James, who's the host. He does Kickstarter training. He does Facebook ad training. He does list training for your email list and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, this seems like a no-brainer. So I invested money into joining the Comics Launch Pro and Mastermind, and basically it's a community and training stuff for Kickstarters. And I learned, for what I learned about what I did wrong and what I did right with the first one, I took the knowledge of and I developed my page from that. And then building my audience was the main thing. So I had started doing that, going to cons, was building up an audience at each con. And then I had like an email list, but I didn't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? So I learned what to do, how to do, kind of like how to keep engaged, to not, just only mail once in a while, like actually, put out, character deep dives, background information on me, how I wrote, stuff like we're doing tonight, but in like, in emails.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of like where, I learned to build an audience is the main thing for Kickstarters. Because the first time I went, it's like I paid for the venue, but didn't have any guests. Whereas like, now, like I actually had like guests that I could invite. I had to keep them entertained. So, I kind of had to like learn to do that. And, basically I had to learn to put myself out there. And you can kind of tell when I'm running a Kickstarter, because like you said, I'm on podcasts, I'm on interviews, I'm all over the place. But when the Kickstarters are done, I'm like all my energy for like being in front of people is out. You know what I mean? Like I have to go back and recharge. I'm like Odin, I need to go back into Odin sleep.
Right, yeah, because I had just to kind of give you an idea, Rob was on this past Wednesday night with Tom Hutchinson, and now he's on here with us. and he's along with these interviews, he's promoting the Kickstarter that he has going on
So
on his
cute.
Lone Wolf plushie. So be sure to go ahead and check that out. Yeah, that's some good tale right there. And and what are you have some special offerings? If you could go ahead and tell us about those offerings again.
Yeah. Let's run through the page here. So I'm
Mhm.
not sure who's driving, but yeah. So as you can see here with the plushie, there's the connecting covers that's the 5th anniversary connecting covers you can get as well. So it's issues 1 through 6. You get the entire story arc so far. Issue 7's coming later on this spring. So if you're new to the Wolfpack, you can definitely grab all 6 issues, catch up. Or if you are a current Wolfpack member, you can get yourself, these very limited. There's only 200 each of these issues with these Virgin variant covers.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, that you have the plushie. You can get them both together. If the plushie's not your thing, you could just get the covers. If you just want a taste of my universe, there is a Nightwolf 1 and Snowpaw 1 tier that you can get, or there's the digitals if you just want to get digital. There's also the standard retails of Nightwolf that you can get there as well. As I was saying, like this is the pinup here that you can see where the actual plush came from. That was the inspiration for this Voodoo Doll plushie.
Okay. And I'm sorry, did you cover the what kind of discount were you giving again?
Yeah. So if for anybody who wants to get like the Snowpaw variant covers, I can just reach out to me, and then I'll get you copies for 15% off of the variant covers, and then I'll sign all the books that you get from tonight.
Okay. And just to answer your question here, Ronald, Mog is drawing Saray, which is the main character of the series, Snowpaw. She is Snowpaw. The current high bid on there is 110. We are taking bids of increments of $5. So if you'd like to go ahead and place that, you can go ahead.
MegaCon in March. No, I'm actually I will be at the Cleveland Fan Expo in March. Again, I can only do like one a month just because of my work schedule and family. MegaCon, I would love to get down to. I'm in northeastern or northwestern Pennsylvania. So for me to get down to Orlando, I still have to figure out the logistics on that one because I've been able to do driving distances within like a 10-hour drive with all my con stuff. Flying to be able to get all that stuff there is going to be a little more difficult. I mean, Mel, you've seen how big my setup is.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and MegaCon is a great show. We've done that show 3 times in a row before COVID came. But after COVID, there was an increase in the hotels and the other lodgings, and an increase in the airfare. Right, so we were booked there for 2022. Right, we last did it in 2021 when they had first return back after COVID. But in 2022, even though we were confirmed guests, I had to cancel out because the expense was more than what I had budgeted for. So I decided to put that out for like other shows. But yeah, if you can work it out to get out there, even if you just get like, I know with Rob, your setup, you may want to take it down a notch and get down to like one table where you can set up and do that.
Well,
So
I would have to definitely pare down
you.
like the bare minimum. And hopefully like, I would have to be like probably too like a guest where they comp my table too, because like if I don't bring a lot of my stuff with me, I might not make table or traveling costs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
true.
another thing.
Sometimes for my thing on that is that I don't just look at like what we make at the shows, right? But I look at what's happening there that leads us to get other income, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the contacts you make, it's the ways that of those connections that can help you increase your sales or direct you to other methods of what you can sell. because there's been a few times where we don't make it we don't hit our goal. Okay, but it's amazing like what happens after, and it's because of the contacts that we made that allowed us to like I'll take that in and kind of like direct that as that okay, that's helped to make our costs and go beyond, and then continuing to go back to those same shows, hoping for the same results and better sales at the show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, connections are definitely like worth it for sure. Like matter of fact, in 2019, I did the Philadelphia. It was Keystone Comic Con, and I think it was the second year or third year or whatever. It was whatever the last time that they did it, and it was Reed Pop who put that one on,
Right.
and it was my lowest selling show, but it was my best connections show. Like I met Connor Hughes, who's the artist from White Ash. He and I were right next to each other, and we got to hang out all weekend. And he did a cover for my issue 4 that following campaign. Joe Schmolke is another one that I met there, and he also did a cover. Chris Williams, who I had met online, but actually got to meet him in person. He had done a Keystone Comic Con cover exclusive for us, and so we got to he and I got to sign a bunch of copies and got graded and stuff like that. But it was nice to be able to meet him in person because he does a lot of my covers, like variant covers for Nightwolf, and did one for Snowpaw as well. Actually, I even think I have a sneak peek that I'm going to grab.
Woohoo!
Okay. While he's doing that, I wanted to say White Ashes is a good book. We like that too. We're actually supposed to be doing a store appearance with Charlie Stickney on his Glarian series. He just got the books in, which Mog did a cover of. So we'll be going out there to help promote that with Charlie locally here in California. So if you're in the area, watch for the promo ads and see where we're going to be. I don't know where we're going to be yet. Charlie will be telling us that. But then, yeah, if you can come out and say hello, that would be great.
Oh yeah, I love Charlie and I are like in group chats and stuff. I would love to meet him in person too. So you want to make me bigger? I can show you. So this is a sneak peek of a Chris Williams cover for Snowpaw issue 3. As you can kind of see, there's a little bit of
wow.
All right, so it kind of looks like the pacing is going to change again.
So it's kind of there's going to be a little bit of team action in this. So the way I put it to him, I said, I'm like, okay, well, have you ever seen like images of the Batman family like on a rooftop?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that's kind of like I wanted to like have like something like a setup like that. Like they're standing on top of a rooftop in London. It's supposed to be a foggy evening, and the colors on this Jesse Hege, he did the colors for this, and the colors came out so great. It just in general like it's a good piece. So this is going to be during the campaign when we're running for issue 3. This is going to be up for grabs as an add-on.
Okay. When are you looking to launch issue 3?
I'm hoping. So I'm planning on if all things go well, after the editing of the book, I'm planning to give Mog the script in March, and then hopefully, if time allows, I would love to have a summer run. But that, again, that'll all depend on when the art's done. Not just you, but also with Bruna and Dave. Bruna Costa is our colorist, and Dave Lentz is our letterer. So got to make sure everybody's time is done, taken care of.
Yeah,
that was a problem for us last year.
Gosh,
and so
I forgot about
so
that.
We so this year we've taken a step back from doing not as much shows, so we can produce more. Yeah, I mean it's great doing the shows, but it does get tiring after a while, and you just want to try and get some work done.
Yeah, too many appearances sometimes.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, because like you said, that each time you travel, that's like a week out of your life right there.
Oh my God.
It's going to be like 2 weeks for us,
Yeah.
because then it's like the week that we come back, then you're playing catch up with the days that you were gone. And like last year, we were gone. We were gone for 3 weeks, doing Fan Expo Denver, and then shooting over to Fan Expo Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay, and it was only 2 weeks before that we were like in Dallas.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh my gosh.
And then 2 weeks before that, we were in Phoenix, right? And
Yeah.
and then and 2 weeks before that, I forget what show it was, but it's like every 2 weeks we were going to a show, and then so it wears you down.
Oh my God. Totally.
So
Yeah.
we need that week to recover and then catch up on some of the work that we need to do, commercial work and commissions as well.
Yep.
And so, and this year we've gotten the commissions. Commissions are open right now for Mog, so they've been going pretty well. People have been like taking advantage of it, trying to secure their spot. Secure their spot with Mog. So, what other cons are you planning to do this year, Rob?
So in February, I actually had been asked to be a guest, and I have to do 4 panels over the weekend. And
Wow.
yeah, but it's in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is like an hour drive for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called Connuga. That's I think I'll be leaving on the 16th, and it starts on the 17th, and it goes through Sunday. And so that's my first one, and then I have Cleveland Fan Expo in March. I am on the waiting list for Steel City Con in April, unfortunately, because they've gotten too big for their britches, and now they need. I feel like they need to move to a bigger location.
Okay.
But so I'm kind of waiting to hear about that, and then also I'm hoping to hear by the end of this month about Motor City Comic Con in Novi, Michigan, which is near Detroit. I've done that one once before, back in I think 2019. I would like to get back there. It was a good show. The next one after that is the Youngstown Comic Con I have in July. It's a small con that's not too far from me, because I live right like near the border of PA and Ohio. So in Youngstown, like only like half hour away.
Okay. Yeah, that's not too bad.
Yeah, and then I think I have one in Akron in November, and I'm just kind of like sprinkling in between as I can find and fill up things.
Okay, so the Dave is asking to talk about the process of working together between you and Mog. The script that you write is kind of a tight script, and so which is kind of lucky for Mog, because then there's not too much that she has to like really think about. Right? It's almost all the information is all there, not everything, and it does allow her like some creativity to put her own spin on things, right? But how is that? How do you feel? Do you find that it's working good for you, or what? I mean, we can be open about it. And is there something that you'd like to see different, or how that's handled?
You mean like just the way, like when she's taking the scripts and working with it, or?
Right. Yeah. Because this was kind of the way how they do scripts in the movies or on television, because she was coming from that Game of Thrones series for HBO. The scripts that we would get for that and for other things as well, like games or whatever, is very different than what they would do as far as they do it here in comics. Right? And it varies from writer to writer. But there's some writers that will, they'll just, for one page, they'll just have a little paragraph, and they'll rely on the artist to figure out what the panels are going to be, what the even what the verbiage is going to be.
Yeah, no, they do it the Marvel way, right? No, yeah. So for me, like I said, I have a very vivid imagination, and I picture everything as the story, like as I'm writing the story in my head, it's playing out like cinema, like it's like live action happening for me. While and I mean, like I'm not as skilled as I do have some artistic talent, but my hands don't picture what my head is. So for me, like putting the words on the paper to be very descriptive of what I'm imagining each. So I'm doing it by camera shots, if you will, and trying to set up the panels in that manner. And I'm hearing the characters dialogue, and I want to make sure that it's because you have to have like the panels and the dialogue work simultaneously to tell the story. And I'm very, like I said, I very want to make sure that the story is being translated, and that's why I'm trying to give as much detail to the artists so that they can tell the story. But in the same sense, if they are able, and I've given Mog leeway at times to be able to say, oh, hey, this would work better if we do it this way, and the same with Carlos, like I give, like, if they can, if what I put there wasn't as specific or could be done better, then, do it. That's something that but there's like also specific times in pacing that I do want to keep to make sure that, each like thing is being hit so that you can get that sense of, sometimes you have to have a sense of emotion or a sense of, a fear or whatever, or time, specifically, with like Snowpaw, sometimes you have like a tense moment that kind of leads to something, and with Nightwolf, like there's a lot of horror movie technique in that where it kind of leads you, and like you have that suspense, and then you get the moment, like you kind of get that jump, if you will.
Right. Yeah. Because when I read your script, right, it pretty much almost feels like I'm reading a movie script. With the way how it's written, because you're very descriptive in your panels, right? And you tell what kind of, almost like what kind of panel it's going to be, and so forth. But you do leave it up to Mog where she can establish the what the root panel is, and so forth, where the main panel is going to be. And it's also worthy to note that it's almost feels like when I see the actual book and I'm going through it, right? The thing that sticks out to me as somebody that has published comic books, like almost in another life or so, there is, we won't get into that part, but your pages have on the average have about like 6 panels per page on average.
Yeah, give or take.
And so it reminds me of Frank Miller, the way how he would do some of his pages, where, because we're told that you don't want to have a lot of panels. You want to let a story be told with the visual, because it's a visual book, it's a visual media, right? And but you've taken like a kind of like a different route to tell your story. Now, is that something that you set out right on to do?
I honestly, I don't think. I kind of like.
I'm not saying that it's bad or anything.
No. I think, like, for me, it's like I thought, 6 panels is a good starting point, and then sometimes I add, and then sometimes I subtract, depending on, because like I have trying to fit so much into a 24-page book is harder than one would think. You know what I mean? And I want to try and make sure that like I get enough story in where like it does leave a bit of a cliffhanger, it piques the interest. I want to make sure there's enough, where you can get a little bit of, like resolution within the conflict and all that, while still getting the point across. So I think sometimes, especially when I'm trying to get like a visual, like if like there's like a look, if somebody's trying to do a look, or like there's like a couple panels that like you kind of need to tell a certain situation. Again, with the pacing, much like a horror movie. You kind of need that the multiple panels to be able to get to that point before you turn the page, and then boom, there it is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, it's just I write catering to the story more so than I think the amount of panels and what I'm doing. But as long as I don't I learned with my first issue that I crammed too much into the first couple pages. Well, not really, most. It just that I was okay, I can't do that again, because when I lettered it, it was a nightmare.
Oh
So
my gosh.
yeah, so I kind of after that I learned my lesson on that. So I try to keep a word minimum as well.
Okay. And now Dave Mog is asking you, what is how do you feel about the process on how that's working for you from the artist side of this?
Well, as an artist, I mean, working with writers, it always depends. Like Rob stated before, he is the type where he has very vivid imagination and he really wants that to come to life. And I'm very fortunate enough where he reached out and trusted my ability to bring whatever it is that he's seeing into an actual piece of paper, an actual physical world. So in that aspect, it's a very it's a good experience. And for example, I would say that in this case, I am his hand, and somehow we have to sync together. So in that case, in that way, it's awesome. And then, for example, if I work with another artist, they have no clue. They're just write. They don't have a visual mind like Rob has. So they just tell you, you do the work. So it really depends on your personality. But for me, I would say I never thought I could do either or anyway. So like Mel has stated before, it's an awesome, lucky opportunity for me, especially as a first time interior artist, to be paired up with Rob, because in a way he's doing most of the bulk of the work by thinking, and me, like you say, he's not doing everything. The script is not as tight as some other people. He does give me freedom to nudge the panels, the designing, the composing. That also does take a lot of brain work too, and that I'm responsible as well. So I think it's really awesome right now at this stage, but I think in the future I would definitely like to this is way future, if I ever continue doing interior art, that I would like to do some maybe more creative. I would like to work on a different different writer or women who does a loose script as well, just for the experience, and then I can give you an answer, Dave, which one I prefer more. But right now I can't really do that.
But it's interesting to see, at least for me, because I'm with her about 24/7, to see how she takes on the art from different people in different industries, and because they all work differently. They all provide different pieces of information for her to work on. For example, when she was trying out for Game of Thrones, they gave her 3 lines to draw this scene where what's in Targaryen, the first, comes over into this courtyard and he's presented the throne. And there wasn't much to go on, so we had to do our own research to figure out, well, who was there? What does this place look like? And there wasn't much to go on, so we kind of had to fudge it a little bit. But they were impressed with that piece of work, and that's what got her completely in the door and led to her 7-year working with them on that series. And so it's 8:29 right now. We're gonna take another break. We are here with Rob Multari. Mog is working on a blank sketch cover. The high bid on that is at 110 at the moment. you'd like to place a bid, we are taking those in increments of 5. We will be right back on.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
This is The Experience.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hey there, hi there, hello there. You're as welcome as can be.
Hi, I'm Nancy McCann. Welcome to Friday Night Live on The Experience.
Welcome, everybody. It's Fat Jack's Comic Crypt. Brendan, Al, Jason, hanging out.
There I am. Welcome back to Kicking It with Henry, folks. I am your host, Henry Kumpa. It's great to be here with you guys.
So we are going to talk about books that are in stores this week.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mishmash.
Hello, and welcome to the Black Comics Universe, presented by Peep Game Comics.
And you gotta love it that the first people in the minute to skim it are creators.
Up, everybody! Welcome to another Wednesday Warriors. My name is Joey Galvez, and this is my pal Ambrosia.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Space Cadet.
Hey!
What's up?
Welcome, everyone, for another episode of I Must Ask You a Question.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Nerd News Now.
Hey, this is Rex. Welcome to Comic Collectibles.
Hey, hello, all you happy people. Welcome to the Dan Wickline Show.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is the crazy show that we do on Thursdays called What's in the Box? What's in the Box?
Comic culture and sales.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit ComicShopLocator.com to find a store near you.
I think you're on mute, Mel.
All right. Welcome back to Sketch Up on The Experience with Mog and Mel.
Yes.
Our special guest today is Rob Multari. He's got a Kickstarter up for his little plushie. His Night Wolf plushie is actually not very little at all.
Yeah.
12-inch plush.
And be sure to check out his campaign that's currently running. How many days do you have left on that, Rob?
14 days. It ends on February 9th. And we'll give you a quick link if you want to go check out the campaign and grab one of these cuties. So that's the long link. The short link, if you're happen to be out there typing away, lonewolfcomics.com/plushie. That'll get you there faster. It'll redirect you to that very long Kickstarter link that they love to put up there for you.
Yeah. And Mog, once again, Mog is working on a Snow Pop blank sketch cover. She is drawing Saray. The finished product will be in black and white, pretty much as what you can see there. Mm-hmm. The current bid is at 110. We are taking bids in increments of 5, so we will accept the next bid at 115 or higher if you would like to do that. And let's get back to Rob here. Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask, what is your favorite comic series?
My favorite comic. Are we talking time period comic or just a comic in general?
In general.
So Wolverine and X-Men. Basically, Wolverine and X-Men were my favorite comics growing up as a kid. I don't really have now. I'd say probably if I were to talk about modern, my favorite series that I been reading is White Ash.
White Ash, okay, yeah. And I just got done. I picked up a set of that from Charlie this past summer at the San Diego Comic Con, and I read that. Had no clue what it was going to be about. And when I first started reading that, it's not clear on like what it is or what the characters and things that you're going to run into, and then it becomes apparent. It is a good book, and I do recommend that highly to everyone to pick up. And look for us. We'll be touring with Charlie supposedly this month, hitting a couple of the local comic book shops in our area. So be sure to watch for that. We'll also be hitting the Comic Bug in Manhattan Beach here in California for Asian Invasion. That's being put on by the president of the CAPSA organization, which will be in the first, but it'll be March 4th of March. We'll be there. Anything that well, how about this? What was the very first X-Men issue that you picked up? Do you remember? When did you come into the X-Men?
Honestly, so the first time, like, I got introduced to the X-Men during the Pride of the X-Men pilot, the cartoon, before like the Fox one came out. But once I realized that like there was comics, again, Wolverine being my favorite character, I picked up it was Wolverine. I can't think of the number offhand. It was the one where he's jumping on the cage, and there looks like there was a werewolf in the cage. And I think Sabretooth and Lady Deathstrike were also jumping. Like all three of them were jumping onto that cage.
Okay.
Like that was the first, ironically, Wolverine I picked up, and then after that, I started. So that was probably like late '80s, early '90s, and then I started, I started picking up the X-Men series when it came out. Not the Uncanny X-Men, but the X-Men by Jim Lee. Of course, the connecting covers and all that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do remember one of the first ones that I did. I didn't get the issue 1 or 2, but I think I got the one that I do remember getting. I think was the first X-Men that I got was the one where Omega Red and Wolverine were like super close to each other, and Omega Red had Wolverine tangled up in his coils.
That's X-Men number 5.
Yes.
Yeah, I started reading the X-Men like when they came out with Giant Size X-Men number 1. And I was just like totally blown away. There's all these cool characters in here, and it was kind of like an international blend of characters, which was different from what they had before, like the Avengers and Fantastic Four. Right, but you have Storm, who's from Africa, the Banshee, who's from Ireland, Wolverine, who's from Canada, Colossus from Russia, and they just went on and on. And then we have our Native American Indian as well.
And Sunfire, don't forget Sunfire.
Sunfire from Japan, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Right, and yeah, so I was totally intrigued with that whole series. And I had also picked up from the racks the Hulk 180 and 181. I was collecting series.
Yeah, those are the gems that, like, for me, like starting later on, I was like, I always look back and I'm like, I want those.
yeah. So yeah, I was fortunate enough to like pick those off the rack, and loved it. I love that issue with the Hulk, right? Because Wolverine was just like really badass to a young teenager like me, and I wanted to see more of him. He made some other appearances outside of that, but it just wasn't worthy enough, right? Until he got into the Giant Size X-Men. And then to read that was going to be the new X-Men taking over the book.
Yeah.
That just really, really made for me. I couldn't wait to get to the next issue. Now, we didn't know what the scheduling of books then were, because when I say I got it off the rack, I got it off a drugstore rack.
Right. Yeah.
And so nobody's going to tell you like, well, what the shipments are or anything like that. I kind of like
Yeah,
have
and
to
they
figure
probably
out
been sitting there for a while.
yeah. So I'd go in there like almost every day to check that freaking rack.
You get the new one? Did you get the new one?
Yeah. After a few months, you realize these things only come in once a week.
Yeah.
And back then they were coming. I figured out that they actually were putting out the new comics every Tuesday.
Okay.
And this was before they had like a direct market, right? It's just going to regular magazine distribution back then, right? But yeah, that was definitely one of my. It still continues to be the best series that I do like reading. I don't really care too much for the X-Men now, okay, but that time period, you have like John Byrne, Chris Claremont, Terry Austin working on those books, Dave Cockrum who put the team together and so forth. That was the great years to me of the X-Men.
Yeah.
Is there any other books that or any other titles that you enjoy?
Well, so funny you mentioned Chris Claremont because he probably is one of my biggest influences as far as writing.
Yeah.
His entire run on the X-Men, and then when he left for like Excalibur and other like different books, I thought that he was the pivotal creator. Like after the initial set, and then like the revival with, like you said, Giant Size X-Men. Once he jumped in and then he created like, to me, basically he was the father of like, he made Gambit and a lot of those other like characters around that time period, Rogue, all that. Like he, to me, was like that was the epitome of the X-Men for me. Like I loved, that whole area, and and I'm sure other people have different opinions, but like, and even like the way his writing style was with like the Irish and the Scottish accents, with Banshee and then with Moira McTaggart, that was like, I think heavily influenced how I wrote, with Snowpaw, with her, accent is basically, what I learned from writing from him, because it, he writes it very phonetically how it actually sounds. So it was easier for me to like to interpret that, sometimes with my dyslexia than it was for regular words.
Right. And the other thing that if people are not familiar with Chris Claremont's writing, the thing that, first of all, it's difficult to write a book that has many characters, right? Because you're trying to balance them out and give them their own time, and they're going to have their own time to shine, their own time where they're just going to be like a supporting character. And so it's always difficult to balance all those characters out, because if you're not using a character, then they're just kind of like dead meat in the book, and you might as well just get rid of them. Mm-hmm. But Chris was able to balance that out, and not only was he able to do that, but if you ever had a chance to talk to him, right, and you can get this through the books that he writes, he always has some kind of another subplot going on.
Oh yeah,
that would eventually become the main story arc of the book, right? And then there would be other things, other plots that he's working on below all those, right? Some of the other writers, when I was talking to them, this was back in the 80s, going to like San Diego Comic-Con, says, and that guy has like 5 plots going at one time, and you can barely get touch of it in the books that he writes.
Well, if you notice, like I think I learned that from him, because like I do that in Nightwolf, and I started doing that in Snowpaw, and because I'm trying to think so far in advance, because I want to like like I said, I'm sprinkling things into it, to make sure that like we're, I want to set up something for later, but I don't want, it has to be there, or else, it feels forced later. You know what I mean?
Right. Because you want to plan it out. You don't want to get the end of a story and go, well, now what am I going to write?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's just when people ask me, are like, oh, well, once you're done with Nightwolf, because issue 12 is the end of the first story arc, they're like, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, I already know what I'm doing. It's just, a matter of doing.
And, you want to plan it out, and you don't want it to look like it's something that's just like a filler, and you leave your readers hanging. Well, what the hell is going on here? Okay. Anyway, so we're going to head into our final break. Once again, Mog is drawing Saray. She is Snowpaw. The high bid on that is currently still at 110. So if you'd like to place a bid, go ahead. And we will be right back with Rob Multari on SketchUp on the Experience.
Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Did you know that across America there are over 2, maybe even 3 live stream producers who can't even afford Mountain Dew? Take Brian here. Brian has gone 2 weeks without a sip of Red Bull. If it goes on much longer, he may take a shower and get a real job. Situations like this are as tragic as they are preventable. Join the Experience on YouTube and gain access to special emojis and members-only streams. For less than a cup of coffee, you can keep socially awkward hermit people working from their parents' basements where they belong. Scan the QR code on the screen to join. You'll be glad you did. Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Programming on the EXP is made possible by viewers like you, or your local comic shop, or that Kickstarter you backed, or the publisher you like, or comic industry professionals who want to share a message with the world. Really, anyone who wants to advertise with us can. If you're interested in seeing a product you know and love, or are creating, or are publishing, or are involved with, advertised here on The Experience, and having your message shared with our viewers, please reach out by scanning the QR code below or visiting our website and using the contact form.
You're on mute again.
Once again, welcome back to The Experience with on SketchUp with Mog and Mel. We have Rob Multari as our special guest. I want to say hello to Nick. Hey, Nick, we're looking forward to, Mog is looking forward to being on your show tomorrow.
Tomorrow, dude.
She'll be working on about 4 or 5 of the Dynamite blank sketch covers. So we got these beautiful gals that will be gracing your show there tomorrow at 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So go ahead and be sure to join us then. And Rob, go ahead and tell us what you have going on with your Kickstarter and your specials you got going for tonight.
Yeah. So right now we're running a Kickstarter for the Nightwolf Voodoo Doll plushie. It's a 12-inch plush, and it's got amazing detail, a lot of embroidery on it, and also accompanying the plush is a 5th anniversary editions of Nightwolf issues 1 through 6. They're connecting covers. They're very limited print runs, and if you are new to the Wolfpack, as I call my audience, if you are new to the Wolfpack, you can catch up on the series doing that right before issue 7 drops this spring on Kickstarter. Also, there are standard editions if you wanted to get the standard retail covers. There's also there's add-ons you can grab, metal covers for Snowpaw and Nightwolf as well. A lot of original art on there, as well as some of Mog's original Snowpaw pages. There's 2 of them there, and from issue 1, and also there's some Nightwolf cover art, and we also have a couple different things going on. for that as well. But tonight, if you are interested in grabbing some Snowpaw issues, if you mention that you watched me tonight, or you want to message me through Facebook at Rob Multari, or even through Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, we can, I hook you up with 15% off of any of the Snowpaw variant covers, and then I'll sign any of the covers as well.
We're laughing because JP, I think he put in there Mog Snow Park.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so be sure to check out Rob's Kickstarter. Pick up that plushie. I think it's really cool. By supporting that, hopefully we'll see a Snowpaw version as well.
Mm-hmm.
You can also pick up Snowpaw 1 and 2. You can send that over to Mog, get a remark on those if you like. You can pick up the blank sketch cover, and we can talk about doing your own art piece on there as well. With one of the wolves or Saray, or we can get imaginative on that as well. And also, be sure to watch us tomorrow evening at 4:00 when Mog jumps on with Nick Barucci to show you more of her artwork there as Nick goes ahead and puts up more cool art pages for sale. If you haven't checked that out, you should. If you really love art, that guy's got some really, really good stuff that he puts on every Friday afternoon. And if you do want to catch Mog at a show, you can at a con. The next con that she will be at is, let's see, what is it? At the end of March. Oh no, at the end of March, it's a WonderCon. So that's the sister con to the San Diego Comic Con. And then the weekend after that, she'll be at a Gem State Comic Con in Idaho.
Idaho?
Yeah.
Is that Midwest? Or is it East? What is Idaho?
It's actually closer to us.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's Midwest then?
Midwest,
yeah. Yeah, you can say that. It's a Midwest.
Okay.
Pacific Northwest,
Okay.
That's pretty much like where it's at. And so those are the first two cons that Mog will be at. But like I said, also we'll be probably hitting two other local comic book shops. 3 actually. 2 with Charlie Stigney that does White Ash. And then we'll be at the Comic Bug at the beginning of March for Asian Invasion. And all the pieces of or 90% of the artwork that Mog brings out that you're going to see her with this year is going to be all brand new, right? So it'll be pretty exciting to see. There's not going to be too much old art that you see. I call it old, but it's not that old, that you're going to see on Mog's table and display. And if you follow her at Art you might be able to see some of that artwork there. But we've been trying to put up a piece every day, every weekday. So you can go ahead and take a look at that, see what she has going on. And Stevie B went ahead and put in a bit of 115. Thank you for that, Stevie. He's like hot on your work because he picked up your other piece last week.
Oh, he did?
Thursday.
Oh, the Baroness?
Yeah, he got the Baroness. The Baroness should be reaching you pretty soon, Stevie, if you haven't.
Yeah, we mailed it.
Got it yet? I believe we mailed it out on
yesterday.
Was it yesterday or Tuesday? I can't remember now. But you should get it this week, Saturday at the latest.
Yeah.
For that. And
that's a really good deal you got for the color of the Baroness. I really liked how it came out. So
yeah, the Baroness came out pretty good. That's a piece that she was actually holding on to for a while before she decided to finish it up.
Yeah. Like wait.
They're asking, what is your con schedule this year, Rob?
Yeah.
So I have Connuga in Tennessee, Chattanooga, in February. The next one after that's Cleveland Fan Expo in March. Then what is it? I hopefully if I'll either be in Steel City near Pittsburgh in April, And then I have Motor City in May, if I get accepted into that one. In July, I have Youngstown Comic Con in Youngstown, Ohio, or near there. So I think actually in Canfield. And then I think that I don't have another one actually scheduled until November, which would be Akron Comic Con. But I do plan on trying to get into Erie Comic Con in September. I'm still trying to fill up my schedule for the season.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and then we'll also be at some of the other cons we'll be at is Fan Expo Dallas, Fan Expo Denver, Fan Expo San Francisco. We'll also be at the amazing Las Vegas Comic Con at the end of April, and we're doing our biggest setup over there. Don't tell anyone. I haven't really put this out yet, but we will have 4, count it, 4, not 4 tables, 4 booths. Okay, that's how big we're going to go. So if you're there in the area, be sure to check us out. We'll have a lot for you to look at over there.
How do you guys remember all these dates? Like I can't for the life of me remember. Like the list literally in your head. You're not even reading it. Like,
if you notice, I didn't give any dates.
Oh no, but you were like April is like this, blah blah blah. It's like a sequence of order. It's like crazy, man.
Oh well, for me, I'm constantly working it, so I got to work out the logistics. Where are we going to stay? How are we going to get there? What are we going to bring? Right. So for me, it's I do remember those, right? And John just put in a bid for 125. Keep working it.
Yeah, work it
for that.
Work
yeah,
it.
so I remember those. But what's happening after April? Then that's where I kind of get like foggy.
No, but I mean, it's like insane. It's like a savant thing. Like you and Rob. You know what's funny? It's like mostly I notice like guys, they just go like, oh yeah, August is this. And then May is this, and da da da, and then it's an order, and there's a name. It's like dun, 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 dun. That's insane.
Well,
I can't even do that. And I read this, like for example, if I read a book 10 times, sometimes I don't even know the author's name. I'll remember the context, but I won't remember. Like, I don't know how you guys do that.
Well, like I said, we have to work with it. You know, we have to plan all this, right? So when I make the hotel reservations, I need to know what the dates are. When I do the airline tickets, I need to know what the dates are.
Yeah, but
if I'm going to rent something, I need to plug in.
Okay. Dates. I want to know about Rob. How does he remember?
Yeah, I think for me, it's again just I don't know. I associate date, like I know what cons I've been to. I know what cons I'm looking at. I think it's just again it's a scheduling thing for me. I'm planning ahead. Like Mel said about getting dates and hotels and stuff. But I'm great with dates too. Like my wife is like, how do you remember, like she's worse than a dude when it comes to like when our like anniversary and what date, when we first started dating. Like I know I can rattle that off at the top of my head. I associate like, time periods with music and stuff like, so I kind of like know like roughly time and, just emotions. I don't know. It's just something weird with me. I don't know if that's has something.
Yeah.
I love it.
And on that note,
yeah, you're very weird. You're not.
We have a high bid from John for 150. John, if you haven't filled out that form yet, please go ahead and do so we can contact you properly.
Yeah.
And on that note, I want to thank Rob for coming on to the show. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Talk to you. It's, and we're fortunate to be working on a snowplow with you. Once again, go ahead, check out his Kickstarter.
It's awesome.
Get that plushie, get the books, and get Nightwolf, get especially snowplow.
This one,
and
dude.
a blank.
Okay, these.
And we'll work with you on that.
I did this. Okay, this is the exterior. If you're getting this, it's an honor. Okay. Because I did the interior. Okay.
That's right. That's all her book.
Dude. Okay. And then I'm drawing personally on top of this. This is my first comic book. My gosh.
Anyway, once again, thank you for joining us tonight, and come back again next week. We have Philip Ginn, who is fairly a newcomer to the industry, and so we'll check in on him, see how he's doing, and be sure also to catch Nick Barucci tomorrow night at 4:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time you'll see Mog there again, and she'll have a lot more artwork for you guys to bid. If you like this one, if you like what she's done here, wait till you see what she has tomorrow. Okay.
Alrighty.
John, thank you very much. You are the winner for tonight's blank cover.
Congrats! Thank you, Rob.
Good night,
you're
folks.
amazing.
Thank you very much. Once again, you're on Sketch Up, watching it on the Experience. Take care, guys.
Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now.